You are listening to Digging In Podcast, presented by Rooted Wealth Advisors.
Welcome back to another episode of the Digging In Podcast. I'm your host, Kencho Kelly, helping you get those questions answered to and through retirement. Today, I am joined by the newest dad times two of the Rooted Wealth Advisors family, Mr. Joe Mateja.
Times two. What day is it?
Yeah. What hour is it? It's amazing that you made it here, that you're dressed.
Yeah. We were just kind of talking off camera. My amazing wife, right? Doing all the things that come with a newborn. I feel pretty lucky, I'm pretty fortunate. Things are going well, but I'm getting a little bit of sleep. She's not getting any.
Shout out to Sarah as we start this episode of the podcast. Amazing mom, wife, and a doer of all things at the Mateja house.
Many hats.
Many hats. Hey, Joe, I was thinking about you the other day because somebody got hurt in a peekaboo accident, and you know where we had to take him?
Where'd you have to take him, Kench?
The ICU. Oh, come on. That's a good one.
That's a really good one. I'm going to file that one away. I'm going to tell that one to Avery later.
That's a good one. For those of you that don't get to hang around the Bourbonnais office on the daily, Joe is our resident expert of all dad level jokes. Always got a few on the top of his head. So any chance I get to spring a few on him, I'm going to take them.
Michael also
that's true.
is up there. I've got to brush up my skills.
That's true. We got some healthy competition for the dad jokes. The ICU one I just felt like was right in your wheelhouse, man.
Sarah's a nurse too, so I'll have to tell her that one.
Yeah. All right. Hey, in all seriousness, we did have a question the other day because you were presenting, and we had a question about the 5 worlds of money. And I know in some of our classes, like you've got a class coming up, the Retirement Now, where you spend 2 nights, 4 hours breaking down these 5 worlds.
Yeah, we really dig in.
Yeah. So the floor is yours for the podcast. I don't know how much tape our boy Phil's got, but let's give it a run. What are the 5 worlds, and why are they important? Why do we focus on them here at Rooted?
So I think first of all, the 5 worlds of retirement are, if you're taking notes, grab your pen. World number 1 is a portfolio, right? Specifically, design, right? What do my investments look like? Are they doing what they're supposed to do? Am I allocated properly? That's a word that a lot of folks, recognize. The second world of retirement, I like to think of is real income, right? Specifically, do I have enough income to maintain my standard of living for as long as I need it to? Income is the outcome that we're after, as Zach likes to say.
Such a catchy line.
It's a great line, and there's a lot of truth to that line. The third world of retirement is taxes, right? Specifically, how much of my money is actually mine and how much of it is Uncle Sam's, right? Are there some tax planning, strategies that we can incorporate into a holistic retirement plan comprised of all 5 of these worlds that can keep ultimately more of our money in our pocket, right? And then the fourth world of retirement would be legacy, right? So leaving money behind. Now, when I use the word legacy, a lot of folks like to think of or immediately think of leaving money to kids, right? Others. Well, sometimes legacy, if I'm working with a married couple or anybody with a significant other, sometimes legacy is just leaving money behind to that other person. Right. And are they being set up to maintain that standard of living?
Yeah, often overlooked.
Far too often overlooked. And then the fifth world, which I would argue is probably one of the most important of the 5, is healthcare. And that can mean a number of different things, Kinch. That could be long-term care planning, right? What if I end up in a nursing home? Am I financially able to, satisfy those obligations? Maybe healthcare is simply just planning to pay for health insurance, right? Maybe I retire early and I'm not taking, my Medicare yet. So maybe there's a gap to fill there, right? Which I think ultimately, though, so those are the 5 worlds, but ultimately it is, they're all intertwined. They're all connected, right? Tax planning leads to more income. A proper portfolio build and design, investment strategies put together for someone individually can lead to more income, but can also affect tax planning.
And how much money's left.
And how much money is left, right? And is there enough of it to do the things that we want it to do, right? 2 examples there on the legacy play. I would be remiss. My wife and I joke, we want to spend our last dollar in our last hour. And that is not because we don't love our 2 kids. It's because we have life insurance in place to leave behind something. So our portfolio
spend those
is for
other
us.
assets, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But the flip side of that coin is very real for a lot of people. I have a number of clients that don't want to spend any of their money and leave it all behind. And then there's everywhere in the middle too, right? That's case by case. Someone that I work with likes to say situations are situational.
Who says that, Joe?
That would be you, my friend.
That phrase has really grown on you.
It's a great phrase because situations are situational. Everybody's different. A little bit of a tongue twister there. But although everybody's different and situations are different, the 5 worlds apply regardless. And the reason that we really focus on the 5 worlds are, quite frankly, far too many advisors ignore 4 of them. Mm-hmm. Most advisors are going to focus on the portfolio. That's it.
Because why, Joe? Because that's where they get
paid. That's it.
I saw John and you both in different scenarios share an illustration about this, right? That advisors focus there because that's where they're collecting that fee, right? And that, full transparency, right? Our fee might not be the cheapest on the block, but it's certainly not the most expensive either, right? We're competitive, but it's one of those things where we're looking at the whole pie, and they're focusing on this one slice of the pie, yet charging more or the same. This is not an apples and apples comparison, Joe.
No, it's not. The way I like to say it is, advisor A, might be charging, 1 to 2%, right, to manage a portfolio. And they might do a really good job, transparently. But if they're ignoring those other 4 worlds, what value are you really getting for that? And that's where we really focus, right? We charge a very similar fee, sometimes even less, actually oftentimes less, and we bring value, right? And that value can come in a number of different, forms, but ultimately it's about generating the income, right, that folks need to maintain their standard of living, and then also satisfy the other goals, thinking, legacy healthcare.
Well, and like you said, if they're only focused in very tunnel visioned on one portion of it, and even if they're doing incredibly well, it could negatively impact your tax situation, right? Or even the legacy portion of it, or the healthcare portion of it, because you might not be able to qualify because you're making too much in certain situations. Here's where our disclaimer kicks in, right? Everybody's financial situation's different. Yep. See a financial advisor. If you need a few, I have a few's phone number. I could probably get you on their schedule, and they're pretty darn good in my opinion. But it's one of those things where somebody could be doing such a good job in one area that it could come at a detriment in other areas.
Yeah, I'm thinking of a phrase that my grandfather and my father used to use when I was younger, and that's "Don't cut off your nose to spite your face," right? Don't don't have so much tunnel vision that you're missing the boat, right? Don't overlook dollars for dimes.
We're just full of. Can we keep going with the phrases?
Yeah, I mean,
with the catchphrases.
Insert here. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I know that you've touched on all these pieces. Is there anyone that you feel like in your, decade plus of experience at this point that often just gets overlooked, that people maybe don't pay as much attention to, that you feel like would be of some benefit just to check a couple boxes?
Yeah, I think, Kinch, there's really two that come to mind. I think the income plan is a big one. Most folks have no idea what that is, what it looks like, how it can be put together to illustrate how long my money really lasts or their money really lasts. And for some people, it's incredibly important because, maybe they're pinching pennies, right, to make it. For other folks that have more than enough money saved, and an income plan might not be appropriate to illustrate how long their money lasts, but the income plan can help us figure out how much money will be left, right, at the end. So it ties into the others, right, to legacy there. But the other piece would be taxes. Far too many people don't realize that far too much of their assets, for the majority of Americans, is not all theirs. Some of it is Uncle Sam's, and he's just waiting and waiting and waiting, right? So tax planning,
and not waiting for a smaller piece of the pie.
No. The longer we wait, the more they're going to get.
So that brings up something interesting to me, because you talked about the income plan, and I have this theory. Tell me if I'm totally off my rocker, but people spend their entire life saving for retirement because their parents, their grandparents, teachers at school, other influential people in their life, you need to save for retirement. You need to save for retirement. Kept pouring in the need for that. And so they've spent their entire life saving, and now they have this, what's commonly referred to as a nest egg, right? But nobody has ever showed them or told them how to spend it. Now that you have it, it's like this, almost like a hoarding mentality that's like, I need to hang on to it, it's mine. And the actual goal is for you to live on it and to not have to go back to work. That it's not necessarily about adding to it, it's about putting it in the appropriate buckets for you to live on. And I just feel like because people have been bombarded with, you need to save for retirement, you need to save for retirement, they just have this voice in their head from whoever. But
that's a good voice, by the way.
Yeah, great voice to have. But then they're almost paralyzed once they get there, that they're just sitting on this egg and they're like, now what do I do? Now what? Right?
Yeah, and that's just 40 years of habit.
Right.
Okay. What's the exit strategy? What's the distribution plan? Right? And you know what that is? It's an income plan, right? It's tax planning. It's
having somebody tell you it's okay to spend money, that it's okay to go on that trip.
Every week I'm having this conversation with somebody. Yeah. Go enjoy it. Mm-hmm. That's what you've saved for.
Yeah. Well, that's great. Because I think maybe there'll be a generation that isn't as concerned with saving because it's so instant gratification, right?
It is. That's our society now.
Maybe that's coming in another, 30 or 40 years. But right now, what we're seeing is that people need to be almost given the freedom to spend their own money. Is that fair?
It's very fair. Very fair. I often refer to it as playing the role of traffic cop with folks. Right? What does a traffic cop do? Tells you when to stop and tells you when to go. It's okay. Go. Right?
And sometimes you just fly right by them.
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes. No tickets being issued here.
No.
But yeah, I think it's really interesting to hear you talk about maybe the 40 year from now problem with people not having saved. I think it's probably coming sooner than that, unfortunately. I am already seeing signs of that. Everybody wants the get rich quick, right? Whether it be crypto, which, by the way, I don't give crypto advice. We don't do that here. But there's all of these. We are bombarded daily from every direction with some type of instant gratification. Turn yourself into a millionaire overnight, easy as pie. And that's, that's out there for sure, but few and far between. Right. The best advice that I can give to anybody, regardless of age, is if you are not saving for retirement, just start. That's it. Just start. $10, $20, that doesn't matter. Start the habit. We've had this conversation a few times.
Well, yeah. What was the $20 bill example that you gave me not that long ago?
The $20 challenge. If you are contemplating saving for retirement, but you don't think you can't afford to save. The challenge is to take a $20 bill and put it on the kitchen counter and leave it there for 30 days, and then report back on what bill you couldn't pay. What bill could you not pay because $20 was sitting on the counter? I would venture to guess that an overwhelming majority of people that think they can't save can probably save $20.
I think at my house, the 20 gets snatched and spent on like craft supplies. I think my middle daughter takes it and goes to Hobby Lobby.
I think they're closed on Sundays, so it's only 6 opportunities a week for her to spend your money.
They are closed on Sundays.
Yeah.
Well, any other thoughts to wrap up the 5 worlds? I mean, I think you did a great job of explaining it. Obviously, there's more detail you can go into, but I think just at a high level, I think a lot of people don't understand that you and the rest of the advisors here take a look at all these areas very seriously, not just glancing over them.
Yeah, not only do we take them seriously, Kinch, but I think that the challenge that I have, I'm going to call it a challenge, Kinch, is that so many folks have never been really introduced to that idea, to these different worlds of saving for retirement or planning for retirement, that and I know I can speak for Zach and Connor and John and everybody really on the team. We take a lot of pride in kind of slowing down with folks and educating, in a manner that is easily palatable and understandable when, introducing these 5 worlds, of retirement and how important they truly are to an income plan, to tax planning, to all of those pieces that we kind of talked about, and how they can be such a positive impact on a holistic retirement plan. So I think in closing, though, that to answer your question, I think it's really the pride that we take in explaining things that can be overwhelming, that can be complicated, in a way that's easily understood and actionable, right? It's all about taking action, right? And that's what they're designed to do.
Taking action, just like this guy's about to do as he goes home to change some diapers and maybe relieve his wife for a little bit. It's all about taking action. If you'd like to take some action, go ahead, give our office a call, 815-918-4727. We can get you a copy of our firm's new Amazon best-selling book, Deep Roots. Joe helped Zach out with this along with Connor and John. There's some great insights in here, and we'd love to get you a copy. That's 815-918-4727. Until next time, keep digging in.
This was Digging In Podcast, presented by Rooted Wealth Advisors.